taking the time to focus on family and like something that's my foundation.
Mhm.
That
Yeah.
comes ahead, that comes first and foremost prior to any competing, anything really. I mean, we still work, we still continue to live our lives, but first and foremost, it's what's going on
Oh,
in our
yeah.
house. It becomes a reflection of who we are everywhere else,
Yeah.
So I think that, like you said, that plays a big factor.
What's going on, everybody? It's Mark Canelio, and we are on Paradise Pump. This is our, what, fifth episode or something?
It's episode 5.
Episode 5 of Paradise Pump. All right. So today, as usual, we have Mel, Jed, and our special guests, Adonis and Chablis Cristobal. How's it going, guys?
Thank you for having us.
All right. I had to get them both on because, they come as a package.
It's a package deal.
That's right. So, Chablis, I'm going to talk to you first.
Okay.
Just, give me a little bit about your like fitness history, fitness background, like
Okay.
when you started, why you
Okay.
started.
So, I mean, pretty much since I was 5, I played soccer in school. So, like through childhood, I did play sports. I played not just like ASO, but also competitively HISA.
Mm.
I played throughout high school, but I think like during that time, like I was kind of just playing, but not necessarily like taking it to the next step, like
Okay.
going into college kind of thing. So, kind of at that point, I feel like every athlete, they want to be able to, I guess, find something to stay,
Yeah.
to stay in shape, to be able to, keep their health, because that was something that we learned in high school as well. So
Mhm.
I kind of went to, when I went to college, I went to San Diego State University.
Oh, nice.
I graduated in 2014. So at that time, the last couple of years, I would say I met a couple of friends, and the three of us decided that we were going to try to do a show. So at that
Okay.
time, I think it was more along the lines of, I don't know if maybe you could help me out, like when Bikini came out. When did Bikini start?
It was around, wasn't it around, I think 11?
Was it 2011? Okay, so
I
it's
think it
still
was around
pretty
11.
fresh though, I
I
guess,
remember.
is what I'm thinking at that point in time.
Yeah.
So it was something I think that just gave us a goal, but also like we enjoyed going to the gym, and we were just trying to find something that we could,
Uh-huh.
give, like I said, give ourselves a goal. So
Okay.
that was kind of how that whole thing started and how I was introduced to bodybuilding. And at that time in the gym, that was our on campus. We had a gym on campus. So
Okay.
at the time in that gym, there were also a couple of competitive bodybuilders, like women who did figure. So she was the one, her name was Crystal Lowry. So she actually was the one who was like, okay, I don't see why I couldn't coach you folks. Like, let's try this out kind of thing. So it wasn't, I'm not going to say that I was definitely like born into it,
Yeah.
but, just having an athlete's background and wanting to be able to maintain that and that perspective on things was what got me into
Oh, yeah.
trying to do something a little bit more competitive, but also stay in the sports realm of things. So that's kind of how that whole door opened, if you will.
Yeah. I mean, well, it makes sense that, you have really good legs, and makes sense you're a soccer player.
Yes, I did. I
'Cause I
played
don't know
soccer.
I don't know if you ever told me that. Maybe you did. I don't
I
remember.
did,
But
and
now it
then
makes sense.
hurdles
Yeah.
too. So
Oh,
that
okay.
was
See,
another thing. But so that was already muscle that, progressively
had been
over
worked. Yeah.
time had been built.
Yeah.
So
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
For sure. Oh, that's good. So what was your first show?
My first show was actually, when was it? 2014 Border States.
Oh, that's a
San
pretty
Diego
good
Border
show.
States.
That's a good show.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I did. That was the first show I ever did. Under that same coach I was telling you about.
Mhm.
So at that time, I mean, I think being so young, my mentality not, really just learning the
Right.
basics of things. I was
Mm.
kind of just following along with what she was teaching me. But at that point in time, Bikini, um, I feel like it being so fresh,
Yeah.
they were still kind of like how wellness is right now, trying to decipher and figure out what it is that they're looking for.
Right.
So
For sure.
I did place second in the open division at that time,
Nice.
but I did have to like bust ass because my legs were, I don't want to say too big, but we had to like try to find ways to make it look a little more streamlined because
Yeah.
bikini
Yeah.
is that's not really what they were looking for, I guess. So, but there was no in between division like wellness now. So
Mhm.
that was my first show though, back in
Okay.
2014.
Oh, that's really awesome. And then Adonis, so give us a little quick little insight on how you started.
So for me, it's a little bit different than obviously her story, but I want to say for me, it was pretty much from the womb fitness. My father was a competitive amateur bodybuilder here in Hawaii, locally
I actually knew him
in the 80s.
back in the 80s.
Yep.
Yeah.
And my mother was she was a fitness instructor at Spa Fitness in Kaneohe,
Oh,
aerobics instructor. That's how they actually met, if I'm not mistaken.
aerobics. Yep,
Yeah.
that's what it was called. It was called aerobics back in the 80s.
So like, yeah.
Fun fact.
I don't know if anybody really comes or sees my son on the table here every once in a while,
Yeah.
but back in the day, that was me in the corner.
Oh,
Like,
okay. So you're always around it.
yeah.
Yeah.
But so anyway, being born into that atmosphere, my father he was a fairly strict individual with his discipline,
Hmm.
bodybuilding wise, and I guess from a lot of people that I hear, and even what I get out of it is that he was very serious and his approach to it showed through his conditioning. He was never the biggest guy, you
Hmm.
know, Filipino genetics, but
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But he
But
came in
yeah,
shape. Yeah, yeah.
no offense, but yeah,
Yeah.
like I have half of it. So
Right. Yeah, yeah.
um his strong point was presentation and conditioning, and that was something that was always, you know, ingrained in me through many ways,
Mm.
through my upbringing. Because even though he had put away competitive bodybuilding in the 80s, I was born towards the tail end of that in 89. The lifestyle that he implemented with us, for me and my little brother, was very strict, very disciplined. He got very religious with my mother during that time
Mm.
frame. So his focal point changed to applying that same principles in my mind to religion.
Okay.
And so growing up in that, there was pretty strict upbringing. Um, a lot of the foundation that obviously makes me who I am today. So I'm proud of that. But for me, it was from the beginning.
Just
Um,
early.
so growing up with that, had that mindset was something that was always that I observed.
Hmm.
My father was, a figure to me, like an idol to me, or I
Okay.
mean, individual that I looked up to in that respect. But
Yeah, yeah.
at some point in time, I always wanted to engage and try it out for myself, but it just never panned out. I don't know for whatever reason. Um my what am I looking for?
you needed me. I'm just kidding.
Of
Your
course.
statement.
I mean, wait, how old were you when you decided to compete?
Yeah, so 2017, my father had moved back with my mother to help me in 2017. We lived up on the Big Island from 99 to 2007 for me.
Oh, so you're in your late 20s when you decided to do your first
Yeah,
show.
27 actually.
Oh, okay, okay.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. So a little bit later than some of the
Yeah.
guys who were starting earlier,
So
early
he had
20s.
come back. Um, I wanted to dabble in the sport of bodybuilding. It was something that I knew he had really good background on, and he was my first coach.
Hmm.
Sean Ray, his first show was coming out 2017. That was something that we shot for, and
Okay.
we went ahead and did that show. That was our very first show together.
Yeah, I remember that show. Yeah.
Was that a kind of like a weird
Yeah.
hotel, but
That was I remember.
yeah.
And so, okay, that's awesome. So now you guys are both still competing and you won a show here, right?
Right.
And you won the Sean Ray, right?
Yeah.
So
Oh, sorry.
that was
Yeah.
your first title, right?
Yes, that was. Like I
In
said, I
wellness.
didn't in wellness,
Okay.
right. Not blaming the division or anything, but I just don't think that my body type was bikini. But
Yeah.
I mean, not I think I was just so in between, but I didn't feel like going up to figure either.
Hmm.
So I stuck with bikini and I, did what I could in the division.
Yeah.
But I think that's also why I decided to, after those first three shows, because I did do the border states. And then shortly after, um, Paradise Cup was still around
Yep.
within that same year.
Yep.
I think November, right?
Yeah, no, November, and then was 2014, right? The last show up that you competed in.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So yes, so the Paradise Cup.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, Paradise Cup. In 2014, and then I was with Jackie at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think the second show I did with Jackie was the following year in 2015. It was the summer show. Was it still the Ikaika at the time?
Yeah.
Ikaika.
Ikaika,
Okay,
yeah.
yeah. So I believe it was the Ikaika, and that was the last one in bikini, and even at that time. And then I took 8 years completely
to just
just
build.
off. Well, I mean,
Wow.
but yeah, it was more, I think at that time, my like I said from the beginning, part of this whole sport, I think for the both of us has to do with what's going on in here,
Mhm.
and I feel like genuinely at that time, and this is just being honest, mentally, I wasn't ready
Mhm.
for the sport, for, being in that competitive realm, because I think sometimes when you get caught up in the sport itself, um, vanity can come into play, as well as
Oh,
maybe
it's
even, as well as
100%.
maybe even, you're just doing it for the wrong reasons.
Mhm.
And I think just taking time off completely and just being progressive on my own without, so because I didn't even have social media those 8 years either. So
Right.
not
Wow.
having social media, not having any, you know, um, desire to compete, if you
Yeah.
will,
Yeah.
just gave me time and growth within myself as a person. So
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, so
Yeah, and that's
that,
probably what you needed. I
yeah,
think,
exactly. So I think that all played into, where I'm at now and 8 years later.
No, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
sometimes that's what you need, man. I mean,
Yeah.
some people think you have to just keep hammering away, and sometimes
I'm sorry.
stopping,
Sorry.
stopping for a while, actually, you get a different perspective. You
Well,
come back into it.
Also,
So,
too, you guys have children, so that kind of took a lot of the attention away from competing, which is not a good or a bad thing, but it allowed you to give you that space for you to reflect back on the whole bodybuilding to see whether or not it was or was not
Yes.
time for you to do.
Absolutely, absolutely. So taking the time to focus on family and like something that's my foundation.
Mhm.
That comes ahead, that comes first and foremost prior to any competing, anything really. I mean, we still work, we still continue to live our lives, but first and foremost, it's what's going on
Oh,
in
yeah.
our house. It becomes a reflection of who we are everywhere else,
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I think that, like you said, that plays a big factor in
Of
the whole
course.
thing.
And so that whole downtime that you were not competing, he was actively competing. Is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
So that gave you extra hand in helping out around your food prep and
Absolutely.
all of that as well to
Absolutely.
getting your mind right
Yes.
for competition. So
And it made me better, obviously, as we fed off each other and our relationship started to grow. We started to expand, beliefs and become closer together. All those things, we found a even tighter knit within it. And as I started to compete, um, she started to catch the flame here and there. And then, her mentality was still what she's spoken before. She wasn't mentally ready for it to some degree. But finally, back when we came back around, we had been asked to trophy present for genre 2021, 2022. And by the end of 2022 is when she seen the division, wanted to commit to it. And then that was when, we said we're going to fully commit to it.
good
together.
choice.
Yeah.
Good choice.
Because what?
Thanks, Sam.
So, what shows have you done total? Like, what's the
So,
competition history?
so I did genre 2017, 2018. I did a little muscle.
Okay.
Did
And are that's bodybuilding or?
I did
classic?
bodybuilding and classic and pretty much everything except for the lower muscle. I only
Okay.
did classic, and that was with Jeff, was my coach at that
Oh,
time.
yeah.
And then 2018, Sean Ray, he was my coach also. 19, I took a break because I wanted to try to put on size. Work was getting the best of me. My family was more important. 2020 was COVID, so it kind of put a damper on everything. But
Yeah.
even in that time frame, we were able to still. We had a home gym, even coming over here where it was everybody else was shut down.
Yeah. secret
was
gym,
crazy. That was
secret
crazy.
membership.
Yeah,
Yeah.
true.
I know the secret membership. Yeah.
And we came out of that in 2021 was probably the year that, obviously, aside from 2023, I was most proud of competitively.
Uh-huh.
Finally winning an overall in 2 categories at the Ikaika, classic physique and
Okay.
bodybuilding.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
And then 3 weeks later, I told my coach Arle, who is now our current coach, I wanted to give it a shot at USA's.
Mm.
So we went to USA's, but it was an off year from COVID. So it was in Arizona, I believe.
Yeah.
It was not in
Mhm.
Vegas. Competition was still pretty fierce, but came top of the second call out.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that was the first time you did like a
A national
national.
show.
So that's pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
that's not
Quality.
bad.
Chablis, had you competed in national show yet? Not,
So,
or go ahead.
Yeah, no, I haven't. I haven't competed in a national show yet. So the plan though
Okay.
is the plan right now is hopefully not hopefully, the plan is
Mhm.
that we're gonna do Amateur Olympia, or I am, in
Mhm.
October.
Oh, you are?
So I
Okay.
think it's October 8th, Tuesday, October 8th, and then we're probably gonna stay to watch the O that weekend.
Oh yeah.
Beautiful.
That's a
Yeah.
good.
Yeah.
That's a
Yeah,
good
so
weekend
exciting.
So
production.
from
Yeah.
that, Sean Ray, that was your first time in wellness.
That was my first time in wellness. Yeah. So I didn't,
Overall winner
but
too.
even like my first show in 8 years
First
too.
show in
Right.
wellness, first show in 8 years.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you swept that show.
Did I?
She came
She's
out on
like, "Did
stage
I?
and
I don't know what
everybody was
happened."
like, damn,
I
I'm
know.
going home. It's done.
I pretty much knew before you went
The
out
same
there.
effect,
Yeah.
guys, in
Yeah.
October. No.
We were like, all of our jaws dropped. We're like,
Yeah.
what? She was sandbagging.
Oh,
8
okay.
years. This is what she was sandbagging for.
I was in hiding, guys.
That's it.
Growing them glutes
You're
and
just grinding
quads.
away, just building muscle, man. That's what you got to do sometimes.
Yes,
That's how it is.
absolutely.
Yeah. So like, how do you guys find just, being married and you guys are both competitive? Like, how does that affect your marriage and stuff? I mean,
So I
especially if
know
you're
that
dieting and all that.
sorry.
Yeah, no worries.
Sometimes, sometimes I feel like there's a really big misconception, if you will, that like being or doing competitive bodybuilding can be, "Oh, I don't know how you do it," right?
Mhm.
That's always the response I think that we even got during this last prep. It's like, "Oh, I don't know how you guys do it. You have the 3 kids, both of you guys have cardio to do, you both have workouts to
Mhm.
complete or what have you." But I think it's what happened in 2023 and the prep that we went through was not really any different than what we do on a day-to-day basis. Maybe a
Mhm.
little more cardio, a little more training,
Mhm.
but just being regimented and having a schedule and being, consistent with
Mhm.
things and communicating with each other is like I said, it's like night and day. That's what our whole life is about, even without the
Yeah.
competition or the
Right.
competitive thing aside. So it wasn't very hard. I don't want to say that it wasn't very hard, but it's not impossible.
Yeah.
Like there's moments where, you're hungry or whatever and something comes out, but it's not to the degree of it's like it can never happen. We can't do it. Clearly. I mean, we made it happen.
Yeah. I mean, because bodybuilding it's a very like, self-centered sport, right?
Yeah.
It's all about you and your meals and
Right.
your so
Right.
and a lot of times in a marriage, sometimes that's like one person is not paying attention to the other because they're focused on
Yes.
themselves a lot.
Yes.
And then it's like they take
But
it
I think
personal or take it
I
like, yeah.
it's a blessing that I have
Yeah.
this man, to be very honest, because I mean, like I said, competition aside, and this face is not always smiling in here all the time, but um he's very, he listens, he's
Yeah.
very affectionate, and like I said, that with that being said, the communication is there,
It's big,
and
yeah.
it's huge. I mean, we both are on the same page.
And that's
And
yeah,
that's I
that's
think
important.
that's the game changer is you're both on the same page. We both um, you know, know what it takes to get to where we're trying to get to.
Hmm.
And we're both willing to put in the work. It's like I like I said, I think with the kids and everything, it's it's not impossible. It's something that we were able to get it done by having some kind of uniformity.
Yeah. And what I want to know though, and I don't even know if I know this actually, is I mean, how did you guys meet? Did you guys meet in a gym? I mean, that's what I'm curious. Like, I'm assuming it's a gym, but you know,
I was
I
a
don't even
greeter
know.
at 24-hour fitness.
Okay, there, and that's where I met
Correct,
you at
at the gym.
Kaneohe, at Kaneohe 24-hour fitness, right?
Yes.
That's how I
I,
met you originally.
I
Yes,
checked in.
you used to
Like, good
be the front.
morning.
Yes,
That
yes.
person.
Oh, I
Yeah.
remember. I remember. You were there.
You're good to go.
So he was lingering around.
got
He was
several
lingering. He
drinks
kept
before
So
buying
you
he
left.
drinks
shot
and
his shot. It wasn't you giving that nice friendly smile.
I mean, my name,
okay. Well, go ahead with your story. Go ahead.
so my name, we had magnetic name tags,
Yeah.
and my name is not, the most common name you've ever seen.
Right.
So a lot of people will be like, oh, it's Chablis, right?
Mm.
Chablis.
Oh, yeah.
But it's Chablis.
Yeah.
So he's just came to the front to buy his protein drink, and it was, how do you say your name? Like that. That was
That's
the
what he said.
first
How do you say
thing.
your name?
That was
And
the
then
first
it was
thing.
love after that.
And I said, "Oh, Chablis."
Yeah, that sounds about right because you were always happy in that front desk. I remember she was always high energy, always happy. I remember.
Chablis.
Yeah.
And I think that was it. Then he never does cardio.
Uh-huh.
And then he just happened to be on the stairs when I was doing my cardio. So
Hmm.
just little things, little cues, if you
Yeah.
will. It's okay.
You're like, it's okay, babe. I already knew. Oh, that's
But
awesome.
yes.
No, that's great. That's great. And then when did you guys get married again? What year was that?
That was during COVID,
That was
actually.
2020,
So it's
right?
2021.
21.
August,
Okay, 21.
yeah,
That's
August
right.
15th.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was, we did it at my uncle owns a beach house in Waimanalo, so we did it beachside. Yeah. So
That's
thankfully it didn't
nice.
rain. Turned out really good.
Yeah.
Didn't have
That's
to deal
great.
with too much of a crowd because you had to do drive-bys
Oh,
at the
yeah,
time
that's
too,
right.
right?
Yeah, it
So
was so weird.
you had bentos, bentos to hand out,
That was
and
so weird.
thank
I remember
you, that
that.
kind of thing. But yeah, it went well. It was nice because it was more intimate.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. Well, that's awesome. So I think Mel's got some topics for you. She wants to
Right.
ask you, and I know she was curious.
No, as far as you elevating from bikini to wellness, and you did take that 8 years to grow. And I might have to add this. You guys got one of like the best coveted coaches here in Hawaii. You guys do it.
He's all right.
She's all right. Arlene, you're
She
all
might be
right.
watching. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah.
And you had not competed at nationals yet.
I haven't. No, I haven't. So this is going to be the first national show that I'm doing in October.
Okay.
Yeah.
How fun and
Yeah,
good.
I'm excited.
Knowing that you had to this sport came from like predominantly, like Latina girls with a bigger born like that with the thicker legs.
Right.
Did you feel like it was harder for you to kind of progress into that, or did it come naturally because you already was a athlete and had soccer
Yeah.
and
So
such?
I mean, I'm also like, it's not like dramatic. I feel like sometimes social media like really dramatizes things the way that you see things nowadays, especially like with this BBLs and all of that
Yeah.
stuff
Mhm.
going on.
Yeah.
That it's like, it's like this dramatic effect of what it's supposed to look like, right? But I mean, if we just think anatomy wise, like it's not, that's not what wellness is. It's not some kind of, music video girl getting on stage or anything. It's just a matter of some kind of imbalance of, upper body versus your lower body. So I already had that problem, I guess, if you will, when wellness wasn't even a thing yet.
Yeah.
When it was bikini, we're standing in all these weird angles, not even really knowing what we're trying to show them. We're just trying to hide our flaws, right?
Right.
So
Yeah, for sure.
I'm trying, we're standing straight on and twisting in these awkward positions. I don't even know what the hell I was showing on stage because it just looked so weird. Even
It
like
looks
all of our
painful.
it's like
Looks
the
painful.
stage pics. I was like, what the hell are we even doing? But it's because we're trying to, create this illusion that I don't have legs pretty much at that time.
Yeah.
So even like my back shot, I was prone to not stand at an
Oh, with your
angle like
feet
this.
out. Yeah.
Because it
Your
would flare
quads.
my
Yeah.
quads too much, like way too much. So it was very neutral and straight head on so that it would streamline my,
Yeah,
you know what I
right,
mean, my
right.
legs and my glutes, if you will. So it's just little things like that where it like I don't want to say I already had a specific body type, but part of it is genetics, I would say, if you will.
Yeah,
I mean,
Mhm.
yeah,
I would say a
definitely.
lot. I mean, being quad dominant does help. If you have great glutes, of course, people grow differently as well too. And like how you're just talking about, you see so many different things online. It's very over
Yes.
sensationalized,
Mm-hmm.
as well too. And um, I'm not gonna guess or say how old you are, but you see it a lot
I'm
with the with
32.
oh wow, you're
It's
still
okay. Yeah.
young. You see it with the younger social media influencers, and you never really had social media.
No,
But
yeah.
the younger generation, I feel like I'm old as dirt. They want they want to grow, whether it be male or female. They want to grow so big, so fast. They don't have a problem taking the drugs, and you hear it like over
Yes.
these social media platforms. Their voices change, and then jawlines and all of
Right.
that other
Yes.
stuff. So
So are
no, go
you
ahead.
so I just feel like with that being said though, that like really that's the last thing that even plays a role in
Yeah,
any of it.
absolutely.
Like I feel like me taking the time to like mentally grow my mentality and my heart and what I chose to do if I'm committing to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, I think that's a whole thing nowadays too, is like you said, instant gratification. And younger generations feeling like things are just going to happen
Mhm.
instantaneously, or I'm just going to grow within a few months or what.
By
But little
taking
do
that
you know, I've
good
been
stuff.
like MIA for 8 years.
Yeah,
You know what
Yeah.
I
right.
mean? And it's like this whole, like I said, this whole misconception of thinking that things are just going to be rushed into, but it
Mhm.
takes time. Everything takes time. It's not some
For
magic
sure.
pill or some drugs that I can give you that it's going to make a difference, because it's not. But also, if you don't take the time to, do your own research, I mean, social media can be um it can be something that you can learn from as
Yeah,
well. You know what I
absolutely.
mean? So, but as long as you're, looking into the right sources and whatnot, but you can use it to your advantage. But I feel like sometimes these days, it's a really big
Yeah.
disadvantage. I don't know.
Hmm.
For me,
How do you
oh, go
feel?
ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, how do you feel about, the because bodybuilding's different, obviously it's different than the female side of it. How do you feel about the use with guys competing, and especially a lot of social media people out there, a lot of guys coming in just maybe the knowledge that they get. I wouldn't say it, they're getting a lot of knowledge from the internet, and
Mhm,
maybe
mhm,
not all of it's correct. And
right,
there's a lot of guys out there that are doing stuff,
mhm,
and especially younger guys,
right.
they're doing all this stuff. And I mean, you're a little bit older,
Mhm,
you're in your
mhm,
30s,
a
but
little bit.
you've been doing this for a long time. So what do you see in the bodybuilding world?
I think that social media can be very beneficial.
Yeah,
Obviously, from an individual, my perspective at the maturity that I have, right?
yeah,
But like how Mel was mentioning, this younger generation, they want it fast and they want it now. And to me, the pros and cons of it outweighs the cons of it for that generation, in my opinion, just because of like how you mentioned it. They want instant gratification. They
yeah.
want it now, and they want to be somebody, and they want to take all these pictures and portray themselves a certain way. But little did they know that realistically, those guys who worked, or back in the day, they worked their ass off to look the way they look.
Oh
It
yeah.
wasn't just I look good from an angle and take a picture with a nice
Oh yeah.
lighting on it.
It was a lot of work. Yeah.
But as far as social media, with that perspective, on the flip side of things, for myself, there's a lot of information out there that is very vital, and there isn't another platform besides YouTube that I can stay up to date with what's going on, you know, um,
Hmm.
contest wise, or maybe even exercise wise, or the latest breaking science behind the sport in its entirety.
Hmm.
Like, there's a lot of benefits from it, I believe.
Yeah. I mean, so like, what's your goals, man, in the sport? Like, really, like, what is your long goals? Because obviously, yeah, you got a wife, you got kids, you got a family, all this stuff. You have a job, everything. But what are really realistically, what do you want, man?
So, like you just mentioned, my family is my priority.
Right.
Uplifting them and progressing them is my main objective. In my opinion, I come secondary but I had to lay the ground rules and be the example for my kids, my wife, and for anybody else who, like, even in my work field, it's a pretty rigorous trade where there's a lot of competition out there. Even staying afloat out there, I'm forced to be progressive. So the mindset of bodybuilding gives me that opportunity to stay on top of things, stay progressive, be that person instead of, because the second you take your foot off the gas pedal, you get, lackluster, and you can see the difference between an individual that doesn't continue thriving. So my main objective is that in its entirety. But for myself, competing wise, I'm getting a little bit older. Injuries are setting in. I'm probably going to take a year off, try to put on as much size as I possibly can that will allow me to stay within the weight range for my classic, which I always
Okay.
have a hard time hitting.
Okay.
But somehow I'm going to try to figure it out.
And you
Be an
can
awesome
do
coach.
masters.
I can do masters too. Yeah.
Masters. Hey, don't knock the
Maximum
don't knock
age.
the masters, guys. Come on, don't knock the
I can do masters
masters.
too, that's right.
No, you can do masters. Yeah. Well, how old are you again?
35.
35.
Right
See,
there, you just
You
made it.
just-
35. You
made
can do
masters.
masters. You can, if you're trying to get the IFBB pro,
It
then
would be
go for that. I mean, or whatever.
it's
I mean,
obviously a goal of anybody who's
yeah,
actively being
sure.
competitive. But for myself, just growing up, like how I mentioned, the family that I grew up, my father,
Yeah.
the background that I have, he's like the biggest fan of bodybuilding aside from being a competitor himself.
Mhm.
I followed in his footsteps. So it's something that's definitely there.
So he enjoys you competing. Like he likes
In
that
the
you're
beginning,
competing.
when he first started to help me, every father that's looking out for their child and they know what's not child, but the individual
Well,
that
you're
I
still
was
his
at that
child.
point.
Yeah. An adult child, but you're
Right,
still his
right.
child, right?
They don't want to promote some of the things that come with competitive bodybuilding.
Okay.
And
Yeah.
he was a guy that, from my understanding, tried to do things as naturally as possible.
Uh-huh.
And he wasn't a very big guy, so I tend to believe him.
Yeah, I remember when I met him at Brett's gym
Yeah.
in the 80s, and he was selling some vitamin. It
Oh,
was
yeah?
like a powdered, yeah. It was so
Probably.
weird because I remember somebody was like, "Oh, I don't know what I was probably like 18 at the time. I was really young." And I remember talking to somebody and I was like, I think I was just looking because it was the 80s. So it was no internet.
Right.
Like GNC and stuff, they didn't have a lot of good
Right.
stuff, So I was looking for like, hey, what do I take for
Right, right,
supplements? Not just like gear, but just like supplements. And then when a guy's like, oh, you should talk to this guy. He sells these vitamins. And I was like, okay, let me check it out. Like, I don't know what it is. I'm just like
Probably was him.
anything. And it was a powdered thing. It was interesting,
Mhm.
and it was powdered. And then I just talked to him and he was like, yeah. And I ended up buying a couple bottles from him. I had no idea what I was doing, but I was just trying to see what anything was. And he sold it to me and stuff like that. I don't remember what it was called.
Ultimate Orange.
You probably know it was before Ultimate Orange,
Oh.
actually. Oh no, this was like
Before
1986, man. This is like deep in the 80s, baby. I'm talking.
I always forget
Ultimate
what it
Orange I feel like was like 89 or in 90, I feel
I'm
like.
sorry,
Yeah.
I'm like 32. So what's Ultimate Orange?
Ultimate Orange.
What is
That was like a pre-workout. That was one of the
Oh,
early
first
pre-workouts.
pre-workout.
Did it have ephedrine in it?
They
No,
had the real
no,
stuff
they had,
in
but you know
there.
what they had in there? Do you know? That's why they got shut down it's methyl tests, supposedly.
What?
So
Wow.
oral.
Pre-workout?
Well, because hey, this is the thing now.
Mostly not FCA approved, that's why, right? Like they were
No,
just,
nothing. Most of the stuff not
most of
FDA
it
approved.
isn't, right?
Methyl tests, maybe people don't know if you know about it. What a lot of
Methylsterone,
fighters
yeah.
would use
Yep.
that before fighting because it makes you aggressive.
Oh,
So yeah, they would put
Okay.
that in there,
wow.
and then you would get this
With
aggression,
the
right?
ephedra on top of it.
With ephedrine. Oh, that stuff was. I remember. I did like a scoop of it. I didn't know. I was never big into pre-workouts because caffeine. I have caffeine
Yeah.
issues.
Okay.
So I remember doing it though, and I was just like, "Well, I'm never doing this again." Like I remember just like I was like, "What is going on?"
Didn't Duchesne put that out?
Dan
Was that a
Duchesne,
Dan
yeah,
Duchesne?
yep,
Yeah.
Dan Duchesne. He was the big underground steroid guy.
Oh
But
my
this
goodness.
is 80s stuff, guys.
That was a
But
best pre-workout.
but it was crazy. And the thing is, it had like a nuclear bomb, I think, on top of it or something, right?
Orange.
What was it called? It was like
it was Ultimate
Orange,
and
Ultimate Orange. Because I think another brand came out later. It was called Agent Orange,
Something.
Where-
okay.
where
that
they
sounds
ended up
familiar.
taking out the methyl tests.
Okay.
But they still kept the
renaming it and
ephedrine,
then-
right? And then they kind of renamed it. And it looked like the same kind of
I
labeling.
see. Okay.
And it was good. I mean, the stuff
Okay.
was, like I said, I only did it once,
I
but
remember like they were still putting stuff even in fat burners, right?
Oh
Sorry,
yeah,
I remember them even putting things in the
they
fat
had some
burners, right?
issues with the
Yeah.
fat burners, and people were
Okay.
having issues. And
Gotcha.
I mean, this was they were, because again, FDA didn't really check it until, I guess,
Yeah.
till they had problems, right?
Right. Right.
But I don't know. I just think a lot of that stuff, people just abused it, and that was the problem.
Well,
People were like,
that's for anything. That's
yeah,
with steroids. That's with
yeah.
pre-workout. That's with whatever. Any type of
It's like, do one scoop, guys were like, let's do 5. Like, you know what I mean? Or even 10. Like, come on, man.
Yeah.
And that's
Understood.
the problem. And this is why all these things end up getting shut down and get pulled
Yeah.
off the shelves,
Mhm.
because there's idiots that overdose.
Like the 90s fat burners.
And that's what they
that
are.
were
That's
Yeah.
the one
The
I was-
90s
that's
fat
what I
The
burners.
was-
hydroxycut, the Xanadrine, that all had the
Oh,
all the ECA
The
stacks.
ephedrine was so good,
And
though.
then somebody like took a bunch of it and
So
keeled
good.
over, and they took
The
it off for
ephedrine-
everybody.
it's still good. If
The
you can find
ephedrine, they
it.
used to sell them in the little bottles, and they were like 25 milligram tabs.
The mini
And you could buy them at like 7-Elevens and stuff
Yeah.
back in the day.
Oh my god.
And I remember the first time I took it, I was probably like 21, 22. And I was like, oh, pre-workouts, I took it. And I felt kind of high. I was training. I was like, oh, this feels pretty good. Like, I was like, I didn't even feel aggression. I just felt good. Like, I
Oh
was a
my
little bit high. I
gosh.
was like, what's going on with
I think
this?
the
So
craziest thing in our generation was like Jack's 3D or something.
Yeah.
that one,
That's
that one
Yeah,
was,
yeah.
they ended up removing that off the shelf,
Yeah.
It
right?
had the 1,3-dimethyl
Somebody
in it.
had-
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, 1-3. Yeah, my friend almost died of a heart attack. Well, he thought he was having a heart attack. We're in the gym training, and we're doing legs. Okay,
Oh.
so of course,
Yeah.
heavy legs. We're killing it. I mean, we were doing like 315 squats for like 25 reps. It was like higher reps,
Yeah.
pretty good weight.
Right.
And we did all of our set squats, and then he was just like, he sat on the bench. He's like, dude, I don't know. And I was like, what's up? And he's like, I don't know, man. I don't know. I feel like, am I gonna have a heart attack? I said, and I'm in training, mom. I'm like, you're good, bro. I said, let's go do some leg presses. And he's just like, no. And I'm like, wait, do you need me to call somebody? Like, you want me to call like 911? Like, what's going on, bro? And he's like, I don't know. And most guys, they're gonna wait it out, because
Yeah.
once you call the ambulance, it's
Yeah,
like,
then
oh.
it's-
So
yeah,
he sat there
serious.
for the bench, and I did my leg workout, and he sat there and watched me. I did my whole leg workout, and I came back. I said, "Are you better now?" And he was about 45 minutes later, and he was like, yeah, I think I'm good. He's like, oh, dude, I thought I was going to die. And I said, okay. I was like, well, don't take that anymore. I literally finished my workout, though.
Did your own thing.
No, I did. I would come back and check on him, and I was just like, that's why I don't do these pre-workouts, dude. I was like,
Right.
that's why I don't mess with them, because you missed the whole leg workout.
Even that for the younger generation with social media is a whole the
Mhm.
pre-workout thing. Like, you guys
No,
take
people
things
are so with
above and
the
beyond.
dry scooping, and
Yeah.
I'm
Four
just
of
like,
them
what do you,
instead of one.
why?
I do
Yeah.
better without
But-
pre-workout.
But
I
you
do a
know,
lot
my
better.
thing,
Yeah.
my thing is like, and let me tell you what you guys think about it. Isn't it more, to me, if you come in the gym, you have the mindset to train hard and focus, like, why do you need this chemical to get you like all hyped up? Aren't you already kind of hyped to train? Like, there's days where you're tired,
Mhm.
but as
Right.
soon as I touch the weights and I start moving and the blood starts going,
Mhm.
it's like it's on. You know what I mean? I don't
Well,
need
endorphins are peaking
anything.
at that time. And
Exactly.
you're ready to go. Yeah.
So I don't understand, what is this fascination with everybody overloading with these pre-workouts? I don't get it. Because do you guys even do them a lot or no?
I was just gonna say no.
Like energy
I
drinks
mean,
and stuff like
we-
that, or
So we have energy drinks, or we'll drink it, but I never do like consume an entire one. You know what I mean? Like
in one serving?
Yeah. So
yeah.
it's like I'll drink it throughout the day, if
Right.
you will.
Yeah,
So it's
yeah.
like 1 Celsius will last me from the morning all the way till I'm like done with my shift
Yeah.
at work, and it's
See, and that makes
afternoon
sense to
already. Do you
me.
understand what
Yeah,
I'm saying? So
that
it's
makes
not
sense.
it's not stacking things. I feel like that's where the problem occurs.
Yeah, for sure.
I agree. I mean, for myself, my trade is pretty intense, and we have all
Yeah.
kind of shifts and day and night. I mean, it's not an excuse, but
You
there are
do
times that
construction,
I
right?
do, yes.
And
For
it's you're outside a lot.
a paving company called Great Pacific. Yeah,
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
So you're out working in the sun.
in the
Burning
sun,
calories.
in the middle of the night.
Oh yeah. You have all different shifts. Okay.
Sure, night-
Okay.
Period.
Night shift.
You're
right?
more of a night shift guy right now?
No, we're on daytime, but
Okay.
During our prep.
during our prep, I was
Yeah.
majority of the time through night.
Oh
shift,
geez.
so
Okay.
I was finding the time to. That's probably the most difficult part.
Mhm.
Is the recovery process.
Mm.
In a lifestyle like that.
You gotta get those meals in, man.
Yeah,
Can't be skipping the calories
rest
and
is very
Absolutely.
important. I think that needs to be stressed more within the bodybuilding community. Like, everybody's so uppity about all the raw stuff, but you
Yeah.
don't realize that
food.
less is more at a certain point.
Mhm.
oh, totally. I mean, people don't realize food. I always said, if you don't have your food together, don't even work out. Like, I mean, it sounds kind of funny, but I used to do that. Like,
Mhm.
unless I had my food set up and my plan was good, like, what's the use of me trying to hammer it in the gym? Because I'm not going to fully recover, right?
Yep.
Unless I can put those calories back in and help build
Mhm.
muscle. So I always made sure that was the first thing, was get the meals down, and then
Absolutely.
training comes after that, right? So, but it all works together. So rest, recovery, all that stuff.
I mean,
And you guys are both from here, right? You guys were both born and raised here.
born and raised in yes, and then my family had moved us to the Big Island in
Okay.
1999. And then I came back in 2007 when I had left home to come to college.
Okay, so you went to high school on the Big
Oh.
Island?
Well, I had my parents, when that religious time frame that I was
Mhm.
telling you about,
Yeah.
they were very religious, and they wanted
Okay.
me to be homeschooled actually. So I was
Oh,
homeschooled
so you
through high
had
school.
homeschooled.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And then you went to
So I
high
went
school
to so
here.
yeah, so I went to high school here. I went to Kamehameha.
Kamehameha. I knew you were gonna say that. So
Yeah.
I already knew where you went. I knew where you went, but I wanted you to say it.
Okay.
I knew,
Okay.
I knew you went. I wanted you to say Kamehameha. I wanted you to say I knew it.
But yes.
Yeah. That's awesome. And you guys, so you guys have plans to just stay here in Hawaii? You guys ever have plans to move off island ever? Or what is your guys' long term?
You can answer.
What's
I
going
mean,
on?
with the rising cost of how the economy here is, it's always in the back of our heads.
Oh,
But I
really?
have obligations to two other children that
Okay.
custody wise I can't up and leave.
Okay.
So, and they're, part of my world. So I
Yeah.
wouldn't be thinking about that. But maybe in the near future, when time comes,
It's always
but
a possibility.
Mhm.
I haven't
Yeah.
been to the mainland very much. That time I went to USA's was the only time I actually gone to the mainland. So
Okay. Oh, okay.
First,
Yeah.
yeah.
Oh. Yeah, and you obviously lived up there for a
First,
while,
right,
so
yes.
you kind of know.
Mhm.
Yeah. Okay.
So Chablis, as far as you competing in late of fall, that will be your first national show.
Yes.
Besides that, what do you have forecasted in the future for yourself? Where are you planning to take the sport?
I mean, right now, I think it's more, I'm taking it one step at a time, if you will. So I think because I do have a family, I have, other priorities at this time. He's very supportive in the fact that he thinks that it could probably even progress past a national
Oh,
level.
I actually think so.
Okay, good.
I think so.
I'm giving a stamp on that one for
Me
sure.
too, me
Yeah.
too.
I think so.
He's,
I think he could.
from the beginning has said that, like, even before we even chose to do this first prep, 2022, right? Like the day after the Sean Ray for of 2022, when we did the trophy presenting, I decided I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna take
Mhm.
1 year to just move into 2023
Mhm.
and I want to take that show home.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
that was the plan, and that's what we did. And since then, he said, I really think that even past the national level, I really think we can go even further than that. So right now, I mean, the focus is, hopefully in October to get the pro card. And then after that, probably, I mean, if anything, take time off and then see what from there
Yeah. Yeah.
well, last
to
year,
grow.
after the feedback that she had received from the judges
Oh
at
yeah, that
Sean Ray 2023,
Okay.
they were I believe some pro
I can-
judges too that were
yeah.
there.
Yes.
They had given her some pretty awesome feedback in regards to where the future lies for her.
Okay.
And
I was like, didn't want to sound like cocky. That's why I said I didn't
No,
want to
go
say it.
ahead. By all
But
means,
basically,
share.
I was I came out from backstage after I had gotten the overall win. And I don't know what their names were, but there were three judges, right, that were sitting on the table. I don't know if you saw, that weren't local.
Yep.
Yeah.
So it was the two Caucasian males and then the female. So
Okay.
they were yeah, so the two males, one had come out and he was going to go to the bathroom, and he had saw me come out from backstage, and he stopped me and he said, I need to tell you something. So I said, yeah. I said, hi. And he's like, I'm so and so. I totally forgot his name. I really wish I remembered, but he introduced himself to me, said he was the judge, and I recognized him. And he said that if you had your pro card, you would have an Olympia qualification today.
Oh,
And
wow.
that, I was like, what? Yeah, I mean,
Wow.
like that's pretty
Yeah,
huge.
that is huge.
At being an amateur
Right.
coming coming out 8 years later, right? It's pretty,
Yeah.
so it's very
awesome. Wow.
exciting. So yeah.
That's
To touch
great.
base on, not to take the mic away, but in
No.
regards to what the future lies for her, because she had gotten that feedback, the intent was to try to approach this national show this year in October, and hopefully that Seanway would bring back the wellness to division for 2024, and she would go right into that.
Oh,
But
I see.
I don't know if they
It
are.
this year.
Doesn't seem like they're promoting it that
They're
way.
not.
So I don't.
Oh.
Yeah.
I think
I think they're
so.
bringing back men's physique.
He
And
changes it.
bikini.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
don't know. Yeah. Oh well.
that the initial plan that we had talked about was to do that. That's why I do the national show and then in hopes of getting the card and then moving right into November. But then when we saw the advertisements and whatnot, it didn't seem like wellness was going to be
A
coming
thing.
back.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
So
Yeah.
I mean, that would be
Yeah.
best because any local show
for
would be
sure,
much
yeah.
easier in terms of travel and all of that stuff. So
For sure. Because
it would have
what
been cool.
I mean, what do you guys think about the local bodybuilding scene here in Hawaii? Like, what's your guys' thoughts on it? Yeah, you got something to say,
No.
man. Let's hear it.
I've got too much opinion.
Oh no.
Let's hear it. Yeah,
Yeah.
well, let's hear you guys' thoughts on
I think it has a lot of I don't know how to say this without being.
it. You're never
It's
gonna
pretty
place
interesting
again. No,
being,
I'm
the
just kidding.
mindset. No, like the mindset of not being traveled much myself.
Yeah, yeah.
There's a mindset here in Hawaii that if you don't get outside of that, it leaks even into bodybuilding. And I seen that there's a lot of that going on that people are not realistic in oftentimes. Not saying to shoot down anybody's dreams or
Yeah.
whatever it is, but like when I went to the nationals, I went to USA's, it was like a freak show. I seen things I never seen before. And I thought like
Mhm.
I'm going up against these guys, like it's for real
Right.
or what?
Right.
And as far as the scene in Hawaii, I think it's a great scene, but I think they just need to realize that there's more, think outside of the social media mindset. There's more to it, obviously, as a lifestyle that will be beneficial than it is competitive. There's a few individuals that I think, and it's not to shoot anybody's dreams down, but keep working hard. But as far as the scene in itself, I think we have a pretty, from my point of view, I think we have a pretty like strong backing as far as like attendance at shows or the ones that are promoted better anyway.
Yeah.
But like I feel like that it's a pretty decent scene here in Hawaii.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I talked about this before, but I know it's for a lot of people here in Hawaii to do those national shows. It takes a lot more, because
Right.
you're flying, leaving the island, going to the mainland. So there is a lot as compared to say a mainland person who lives in the mainland already.
Right.
Even though we're all getting on planes, they're getting on a plane, we're getting on a plane. It's just different
Mhm.
coming from Hawaii. It is different. It's a
Right.
little more.
But I think that also comes into play with what we were talking about the other day when we were sitting at the table and like in terms of commitment.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
there's a lot of if, ands, or buts. I'm going to do this. And then where'd you go? You know what I mean?
Right.
Like what happened? It's show day. Where did you go? Like it's if you're going to do something, then you're going to commit to it 100% here, and here.
Yeah.
And you're going to get it done. It's not a matter of if I'm going to do it, but I think that's why it also progresses into what we were talking about and having the right mindset, right? So
Yes.
yeah, I mean, it doesn't take being a mom to be able to have that mindset and that I'm committed, like, or that I know what sacrifice is like. Yeah, it's definitely easier on my part being a mother, knowing what it means to sacrifice and have responsibilities, be consistent, and our oldest, my stepson,
Mhm.
he has autism, ADHD,
Mhm.
and cognitive delay. So if anyone is going to remind us what consistency is, it's our son. Do you understand? So there is no room for error or I'm going to try this out. If I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it because like anything else in our lives, even with our son, it has to be a certain way. Otherwise, behavioral things will come up and it's very reflective that you're not on point. Mom and dad is
Yeah.
not, they're not on point.
Okay.
He's not going to say it out loud, but in his actions and his behavior, it's very apparent. So because that's the kind of life that's going on in the house, when we're here, it's time to roll and get it done. So it's, there's a purpose that we have for being here. And it's not just an if, and, or but. I think I'm going to do this show. No, I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Right, right.
That kind of thing. So
Right.
even with a national show, like if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do it because I don't have, even like you said, monetarily, like we have to plan for these things. There's
Mhm.
other things going on. We have 3 kids to take care of and responsibilities and things to pay for. So if we're going to get it done and we're saying we're going to do it, then it's happening. Does that make sense?
That does, yeah. No, that's great. I think so because
Yeah.
I feel like that having that mindset of just
But
committing, and
right.
being committed.
But I think that plays a huge role in like the bodybuilding community here
Mhm.
in committing to shows and like, oh, I think I might do it. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
and being 100% about it because it shows up on stage when you're not. You know what I
Oh,
mean? Like
for sure.
it
Well, I think a
does.
lot of people have a fear of failure, and
Right.
so that's where the commitment, right? That's
Mm-hmm.
where it's like, well, let me wait and see. And if I think I'll make it, then I'll commit to it. If
Yeah.
I'm not sure, if I don't
Right.
feel it, then I won't,
Mm-hmm.
instead of just saying, okay, I'm going to commit to it
Yeah.
and just make it happen.
Make it
Right.
happen.
I
Right.
think that's a fear of failure,
Right. Absolutely.
So, but I always say, like, honestly, I did a lot of shows and I say, like, nobody cares. like, honestly, you care the most about
Oh,
yourself on
yes.
stage.
Yes.
Nobody cares. Like,
Nobody.
you do a
Yes.
show, if you bomb it, they might give you crap about it for a couple of
Yeah.
days and it's over. They're moving on to the next one. And you might hold on to that for years, But in the end, like nobody really cares. Like you want
Yeah.
to do it, do
Mm-hmm.
it. If you don't do well, then hey, you
Mm-hmm.
can always try and do another one.
But I think when we watched your episode with Kenny and
Uh-huh.
you folks were talking about how it's become so commercialized, right? Like
Mhm.
the whole bodybuilding is for everyone kind of thing.
Yes.
Okay, yes, but like just like personally, I don't feel like competitive bodybuilding is for everyone.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
Well,
just
Good point.
but
okay.
the thing is, these shows, they don't really discern between competitive
Oh
bodybuilding and just
no.
competing. So
Yeah, no.
you're going to get somebody up there who's trying to qualify for a national show, going
Right.
up against somebody who it's their
Right.
second show and they just do it for fun.
Right.
And they're like, I lost 20 pounds since my last show.
So that's why, they do have competitions as such though, right? Like weight loss competitions or whatnot. But in regards to like, that's why I said in regards to understanding the sport and the level of competition that certain individuals might be at. So who's to say that maybe you need to be like me and take 8 years off? I don't know. I'm not sure. You know what I mean?
Well,
Like,
there's the other contrast of people that compete in every show because they just love being on stage as well
Yes.
or
too.
I
that,
see
So
sure.
those.
that's why for like myself, when 300 shows later,
Yeah.
um, as far as
I'm not
myself,
going to
I
name names.
I know you're
I'm not
We
gonna say
know.
names.
I think we're
I'm
thinking the
not
Start
same
with a
either.
person.
J
I feel like we're all thinking,
and with a
hey,
L.
you see, like, come on. I think we're all
Just
thinking the
playing.
same
I'm just
person.
playing.
I think so.
Everybody
Just
thought of
kidding.
him
Just
right
kidding.
away. No, we love you,
Off the
buddy.
stage. Drove the golf cart off the
We
stage.
know who he
That's the
is.
guy.
Why do we all think this? This is so funny.
But
Poor
so it
guy.
was
Anyway,
for my come up, I couldn't compare myself to who I was gonna step against on stage because I already knew I wanted to take it to the national caliber.
Mhm.
I couldn't play. I didn't do well here because I knew my body being older. I was a one-hit wonder. I had to give it all at nationals. So state shows, I was just like, okay, I qualified. That's great. And
Mhm.
then whatever juice I could squeeze left that I had for nationals, that's when I gave it my all.
I see.
But like as far as there's so everybody has their lane. But for me, I had to be like, oh, I don't know if you remember Sammy.
Yes, I do
She
actually.
had them quads. She should do
Yes.
wellness. Anyway,
Yeah,
back to the
I
story.
remember.
We would see each other in the gym every day, and I couldn't be like, oh, I'm gonna be competing against Sammy. Oh, that's my competition. That's my op. No, I just had to just play my role and do my thing and show up every single day so I can. It'll turn out however it turns out, just as long as I'm qualified for
Mhm.
nationals. That's all.
Right.
That's all that mattered to me. I couldn't think of her as like, my competition or
Sure.
me just being my own.
Right.
Going up to nationals, I freaked out too. I was like,
Mhm.
holy crap, I'm against like this. That was
It
a
was like
rude
being at a
awakening.
freak show.
It
I
was a
don't know,
freak
like,
show.
I seen stuff at muscle that I never seen before. It was like balloons filled with water.
Yeah,
and just
it's
things popping everywhere. I was
different.
like, what
Yeah,
But
well,
I'd
for
really
real or
like
what?
for more of the
I
Hawaii
know,
people
yeah.
who do qualify, give it a shot. Go to nationals, get yourself a good coach and get ready to, really see what's out there. Or if you
Mhm.
don't go to nationals and compete yourself, I would suggest go watch a pro show, watch Olympia and see like what kind of caliber is actually really out there. So you can compare yourself to that, not the next fellow gym bro or gym H word.
So what we're trying to say is bodybuilding, competitive bodybuilding is not for everyone. Bodybuilding can be for everybody. Yes, bodybuilding in general can be for
I
everybody,
think the
right? But
lifestyle
Yeah.
is
the
yeah.
competitive
Different.
bodybuilding, right? Because do you ever feel like, so you two, like, you see some people on stage and yeah, they're doing it as, like you said, like maybe it's a weight loss challenge thing and they went up there and did it. Do you kind of feel like it makes the show kind of waters
Waters it
down? It doesn't
down.
make the show look very good? Or do you feel like, oh, hey, it's cool. It's a forum for them, right on, that this person wanted to do this and
You know,
they
for
did it.
myself, being that I'm about the lifestyle of it, and that's kind of the nucleus of what our family represents, and that's why we're able to do this at the level that we do here. Um, I wouldn't want to shoot anybody's dreams down, you know. So if somebody is in like sincere about what they're doing,
Yeah.
then hey, whatever it is, man. But like obviously being realistic for the competitive side of things, yeah, definitely waters the show down. I mean, I don't know what else to say.
Yeah. It waters. I mean, there's a lot.
But
You're sitting through a
yeah,
lot where you're like, okay, this person probably is not ready
Yeah.
to compete, but
Yeah.
hey, they got up there right on,
right,
like, yeah,
Mhm.
man,
right.
it's good.
If it ignites the flame,
Yeah.
that's one thing,
Yeah.
But if it's the same over and over, and then it's kind of like,
Well, I think,
Yeah.
yeah, like if there's no progress being made from one show to the next, then like, is that really your intention? Are you really doing it to be a competitive bodybuilder? Are we just doing it to
Get up on
put
stage.
this bikini on and do
Yeah.
your thing?
Right.
You know what I mean?
And
Which
I'm
you
sure
can
that
do somewhere
happens.
else. But like,
Mm.
like you said, like if it ignites the flame the first time, great. But like, let's see some progress. Let's see some progression,
Speaking on progress, from my perspective, um, from a person who's been in the sport for a little bit as well,
Mhm.
and you're also a coach. I'm kind of a coach. I also judge. I do have to say to you, Chablis, thank you for raising the wellness standard because I've been waiting for somebody to be like, all right, we need a Hawaii wellness girl that would like really represent what wellness division is about. And thank you for raising that bar.
Oh, thank you. I feel like you know, I was very conflicted at first. He had to pretty much like paint the picture for me because social media, like I said, not to bring it up again or anything like that, but like, I mean, even after I got the feedback that I got, and I went back and looked at all of these pros profiles who have thousands of followers, right? You have thousands and thousands of followers. I look at your pictures and it's like grainy as hell and like complete, just 4K, 5K. I don't even know what it is these days. And my
8K.
pictures are from my iPhone. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
not anything like fancy, but like
Uh-huh.
I'm looking at these profiles with just, you know, I don't know how, I don't even know what word to use, but you're just kind of awestruck when you look at it, right? To know that I could have
Work with
beaten that though, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
my iPhone pictures, it's kind of, it's enlightening. It kind of just goes to show that, it's not what you see on your phone. It's
Mhm.
really not what you see on social media. And you really have to have an eye for it. And I mean, he had to open my eyes to what that look was because I was like, am I too small? You know what I mean? Like, am I and then, a part of it is the posing too, right? Which you can
well,
share
like
too.
in regards to her performance at that show, there was a lot that went into it that was more than just the athlete working their ass off. Everything that I tried to approach it with Arle was precision, from the details of the outfit that she was wearing to how it was cut to how the top was cut.
Mm.
People don't realize the depth that you can get into to give yourself the edge, because most of the people that are up there are not picture perfect. But there's so many facets to the game that we had, in my opinion, approached it with precision to be able to have the outcome that we did. The posing presentation to me can be the most vital part of it. I mean, you can make a subpar body into, you know, a winning physique at times, and vice versa. But you know, what I'm trying to say is that it's not just she did work her ass off. I've never seen somebody follow a diet the way that she follows a diet, even as
That's
shredded
one
as I
thing.
can come in.
That's one thing
never,
right
like,
there. A lot of
I
people
am
can't.
She is like
They can't do
inspiration.
it. A lot of people can't.
I'm very
I'm
strict.
Yeah.
When
So
she's following her diet, she's following her diet. You know what I mean?
right.
Like,
That's
I'm
great.
glad
Yeah.
that you mentioned that everything is down to like precision. The way that your suit is cut, the color, the contrast, the way that it contrasts against your body and the hot lights, how you pose and everything makes a big difference, especially like not especially even with you men, the way that you wear your posing trunks,
Yep.
if it's too high, too low, too saggy, too big, too small, and
Yeah.
all of the cuts make such a difference
the
on how
tan
the
is a
tan,
huge one.
how it
And
reflects your body as well. It could be a make or
Yeah.
not to say make or break, but
Kind of.
oh, it's yeah. I mean,
Oh
I
yeah.
specifically chose the tan that we did. Went ahead and chose for a certain reason because I felt like she had a similar dermis to mine, and whatnot. But that was the approach that we had, even in the tan.
Mhm.
that's really awesome
with the
how you get
color.
super involved with your wife's
Oh,
finished
I didn't want to
product.
waste the time. You know, people don't realize
Yeah.
for the amount of time that I put into it that there's so many little things that go into it that you don't realize you can up your game other than just exercising too.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, that's
uh,
great.
'Cause
Well, and it's just great because you have a passion for it, for the sport itself anyway, and then supporting her, and it goes
yeah,
back for you too. She supports you too. So
even the presentation,
yeah,
um,
you did the
the individual that I chose, we had the world-renowned posing coach prior to that, and
oh
the
wow.
vibe that we had was just not a pleasant one.
Oh
Mm,
really?
said-
Yeah, it
So you had to
wasn't
switch it
so
out.
well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we ended up going up with Christina from KNJ Center Stage.
yeah, it's KJ
Yeah.
Center Stage is good.
Mhm.
Like we are just talking about at the other show. Like you don't necessarily go with the name. It's not always what
Yeah.
you get as well too with the name. So
Right.
I'm glad you did your shopping for that as well too.
Mhm.
We had to try it out to see, right? And no, nothing against the individual. He had a lot of good pointers, but just for me, when working with a female, the approach has to be different, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Especially for confidence wise.
Yeah.
And to see the way that he was coming across was like, this is just a shoot down.
Yeah,
mean?
Yeah.
This
I
is
I
what he's
gather
doing.
that.
It
The point is
was
to uplift the person.
Yeah, I think when I was having sessions, not like I said, there were good pointers or like he was mentioning, but I think it's like a lot of what shows on stage is your confidence too. So if you don't feel confident
Oh
or the
yeah.
person you're working with is not, giving you feedback and nobody is saying to like lie to me. I don't care. Like, please tell me the truth. If it looks like crap, then it looks like crap. I'm not saying that, but just the demeanor I
Mm.
think just came off very harsh and it wasn't as, it just
Constructive
kind
and
of,
Yeah.
helpful.
yeah, it
Yeah,
wasn't as
everybody's different.
helpful. Yeah.
Everybody's
Even in
different.
her
And coaches are
holding her
different.
poses, she would feel uncomfortable. Like I know their poses are supposed to be uncomfortable, but from what she would perceive out of the mirror, she wasn't comfortable with what
I
she was
looked
The
saying.
at it and
energy
I
wasn't
hated
there.
it. Like
So
I
it was
didn't
like,
like
Okay.
the
I'm not gonna
way,
force you to
yeah,
just because this guy is whatever.
yeah.
Yeah. So overall, yeah, I mean, that's, again, that's not every coach is good for everyone. I mean, that's the
Like
reality.
with women
True.
posing, you kind of, I mean, women contort their body to like the most weirdest positions for posing. In my opinion,
Absolutely.
True.
it's a awkward pose, and if you don't feel confident or comfortable in it, then
Mhm.
you're not going to perform, and
Yeah.
you're going to see it on stage as well too.
Mhm.
So I'm glad that you were able to just make mention and just be like, it's not right,
Yeah.
and for you guys to do something about it instead of believing and trusting in
Yes.
this renowned posing coach and just went
Right,
with it
right.
uncomfortably.
Yeah.
Take
That's
pride in
good.
everything, in my opinion. Even in the accessories details, we had everything down to what we wanted to see.
Oh yeah.
Not just, oh, I want to put this on because everybody puts it on. That's the way that we approach it, and that's we're happy with the outcome that I felt was no other way to come out from that being biased, but
Of course.
just to put it out there that there's more than just exercise, there's more than just doing a show. There's so much that goes into it that people don't realize that over time you'll be able to understand and get better at or whatnot. But if you need help from people, ask. Don't
Mhm.
just take it for granted that what you see is legit.
Mhm.
And yeah,
I
Not-
think
not all of it's real. you
Right.
know,
And I
there's-
think playing off of what he just said, what we always tell even our youngest son who's doing basketball and whatnot,
yeah,
and he has extremely high expectations for himself, We
yeah,
have high expectations for him, but his standard is set way up here, right? So
okay,
we always have to remind even our kids and even ourselves that you also have to be coachable,
yeah,
right? Like
yeah,
you have to be able to take feedback. You
Mhm.
have to be able to, so like he was saying, take feedback. If it's not something that you understand, ask questions. There's no harm in that. If you don't understand something, then, find a way to better understand it. If there's exercises that you don't know how to do, there's social media,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
there's other aspects and other ways to look at things and find things out.
yeah,
That's all.
yeah. Okay, so we're gonna wrap it up soon, but what
Okay.
is your workout program? What's your split, you
Oh,
know?
okay. Currently,
Yeah.
so right now, my current split, so I think in 2023 it was a little different. We tried to do I think it was still 3 days lower, right? We did like a 3 day lower and actually like a one upper. So it was only 4 days,
Oh,
but
wow.
lots of rest, there was lots of rest.
Okay.
I followed everything to the T, like he said. But it was at the time, scheduling wise, it was kind of crazy because the drop offs with the kids. So we just
hmm
made it work though. We still got things done. This time a little bit more flexible. There's some time, it's summer.
Okay.
So we are doing still 3 day
3 day
legs, yeah,
lower.
3 day
Okay.
lower and then two uppers. So one day
Okay.
more dominant on back exercises, the other shoulder.
Oh,
And
that's
then
pretty cool.
cardio is
Yeah.
pretty minimal right now, to be honest. Yeah.
Yeah. Until you get ready for the show,
Yeah.
obviously, then you start ramping that up a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay,
But
that's
yeah,
awesome.
that's
Yeah.
about it
Three
right now.
days. Yeah. That seems to be a thing. A lot of the wellness,
Yeah.
even bikini girls are doing 3 day legs
Yeah.
during the week. Yeah. 3 days a week of legs. Yeah. That seems to be a thing. I've seen that pattern more and more. So
Mhm.
that's
It
cool.
works.
Lots of glutes in there, I'm sure.
So Arle will put out the plan, and I'll kind of modify it because of our
Okay.
lifestyle and knowing inside of living with the individual. I got
Yeah.
a different outlook on things, and I don't think anybody knows her better than I do in terms of what she can handle, what she can't handle. Of course, you always want to push the athlete,
Mhm.
but so last year we did have her do 3 lower days. Glutes are always on every lower day.
Yeah.
She would flip flop between hams and quads as part of the lower.
Mm.
Upper, the main focus was shoulders, try to get more width up top. Um, wellness is about being disproportionate, but I think as you can create more illusion in your waist being smaller, if you're not the most gifted person in the waist like me, you got to
Yeah.
make something bigger.
Yeah. Yeah.
For females, she has good size on her legs, so we try to put more size on her shoulders, make that the emphasis on the upper body days. Yeah. This year is pretty much similar, but we're trying to utilize this time food is still high to try to make some type of
Mhm.
progress in those areas in the upper
Okay.
body. Um, the leg workouts, I wanted to say that everybody's so fixated on glutes and doing all that. For a female who's a female, I mean, I don't want to start talking about what you take and whatnot, but they're not taking much of anything.
Mhm.
The recovery process is vital. You don't have to go balls to the walls at every workout.
Yeah.
Push yourself, and that's what we do. So we don't try to make it to like we're trying to not walk the next day, or
Hmm.
and I think that's very important
Interesting.
in terms of recovery wise.
Okay.
Working towards a deficit. Obviously, in the off season, you want to push yourself, but for her, we try to utilize time frame where she has still food high to be able to add some size if that's possible. But
Yeah.
the stress is not to try to run her down exercise wise at this particular
Mhm.
time.
Okay. That's interesting. Yeah. Because I mean, I've always been more of the high intensity, but that's good. You keep a balance there of not
Mhm.
always have to go 99%, or you can
Yeah.
back it down
Yeah.
sometimes, get that recovery, and then maybe come back the next time a little bit
Mhm.
harder. That's smart. That's actually smart. So people underestimate how long it takes to recover sometimes, especially from
Well,
a really hard workout. Yeah.
right. And I think also, like, especially when you get closer to show, sometimes I don't know we talk about it, but sometimes people will get on stage and it's like tired.
Oh
They
yeah.
just look tired at the end, you know? Like you want to come on
You
stage
want
with
to
some
feel
kind of
fresh.
life
Yeah.
and
Right?
vibrance.
Yeah, you
Exactly.
look like you were having fun.
So
That's
I
you
was.
were with
You were ready for it.
eating
Yeah.
your
What do you mean?
I'm just
bagel.
saying,
You're
so
all
Keeping
happy
up,
I
posing
yeah.
with your bagel.
I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I think even Arle and I mean he already knew, but Arle was like shocked as to how much he was feeding me.
Oh
Like it
wow.
was like I was being
Oh, I
fed
remember
into
that.
the
I remember
show,
that.
and he
Yeah.
was just like, "Holy cow!"
It's
Like
not even like
I,
diabetes.
it was.
Here's
It was.
yeah. But you were
I
eating
was,
up.
and then it got to a point where they were like, "Hey, we're gonna feed her," and then they
Yeah.
fed me right in, and
Yeah.
it was.
It was
So I
perfect.
was smiling.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
awesome.
Yeah, you had a grand old time show
I
day.
did.
I was right there by you.
That's great.
Cinnamon raisin bagel, guys.
That's your favorite.
So before we close this off, where can
Okay.
people find you and follow your stories along on social media platforms or anything?
Go ahead.
So we're on Instagram. She's under handle Mami Gaines MIMMAMI
We'll put it
underscore
up.
GAINZ.
Yeah.
And then you can find me under Adonis at Adonis ADONIS Junior 89.
Mhm.
Awesome. We're gonna put it up. And so we usually do because we didn't do it with Chris Knox because he was prepping, but we
Okay.
usually do there's like a thing that we do at the end of the show.
Okay.
It's like show us your favorite exercise kind of thing. So we're gonna do that, and maybe it might not be right now today,
Okay.
but we're
Yeah.
definitely gonna do that and put this in this clip. But
Cool.
so we're gonna see when because obviously you're not in your workout clothes right now.
For sure.
So but I want to add that in there.
Okay.
So
Cool.
we
Can
do
do.
kind of a whatever your favorite exercise is.
Okay.
And you can kind of show people and
Right on.
so but for sure we'll get that in there. So,
Alrighty. Sounds good.
but thank you guys for coming on.
Yes.
was
Thank you
awesome.
for
Having us.
having us.
Oh yeah, of
Thank you.
course. It was great.
And good luck to your competition season this year and many more to come,
Yeah.
please.
Thanks.
Hopefully, do the Amateur Olympia, and we'll see.
We're hoping
We'll
for the
put some
best.
updates on in here, and people can follow you and see where you're
Yay.
at. So
Thank you.
I'm sure it's gonna be good. It's gonna be awesome. So,
Okay.
all right, guys,
Alrighty.
thank you for joining us on another Paradise Pump and aloha.
Okay. Okay. So pretty much my favorite exercise I would say is, well, one of them, the hip thrust. I know that everybody has different variations of doing it. I would prefer using a wedge so that I can place it here on the end. I'll put it right over here. I don't know if you can see, sorry. But I think just providing the wedge allows me to press through my heels a little more when I'm doing a hip thrust. Allows for much more extension of the glute at the bottom and a full range of motion so that I can extend the glute as much as possible and get, like I said, hit full range on the glute muscle. This helps me, I feel like, this helps me a lot with my trying to build my glute for wellness, but at the same time, I can control the weight a lot more, as well as, get under and like this. I do like to go a little heavier, but for the sake of showing you, I do want to be able to control the weight and show the exercise. So here's where I'm going to start. I kind of place my hands right outside of my hips. I do use a pad just for comfort. Not everyone needs one. Release the weight. Slow 3, 2, 1 on the descend so that I get a full extension of the glute muscle. Thrust to the top. Once again, 3, 2, 1. Thrust and hold for 1 to 2 seconds at the top of the range. I do like to mention that some people do like to do a hip thrust, but sometimes I find that we do use a lot of lower back. Personally, I like to do more of a scoop method. I do follow Brett Contreras on Instagram as well, and he does have a little bit more scientific terms on how to do this and more explanation if you do want to go look at his Instagram to get more info. But basically, instead of getting underneath the bar and simply just throwing the weight around, which anybody can do, he shows that to prevent any lower back usage, if you do have lower back pain, which I have minor, not much, you're going to scoop underneath. Scoop rather than just throwing the weight. Another variation that I do like to do, so I do like to focus on pushing through the heels. I also like to use a band sometimes. Not always necessary, but I think for myself, it reminds me to abduct when I'm at the top of the motion, when I'm at the top of that rep. So here, pushing through the heels. Once again, release the weight. Full extension of the glute at the bottom. Press outward, abduct, and tuck. Once again, 3, 2, 1. Full extension, abduct, hold at the top. Keep tension. But that's pretty much it.
So, being that my primary division is classic physique and my waist is wide as fuck, one way to make my waist look smaller is to make your shoulders look bigger. So my favorite exercise would have to be dumbbell lateral raises. So every time I set up, I try to make sure my feet is at least shoulder width apart, scaps pulled back, tight core. We're just gonna pull thumbs down, come just to shoulder height, and back down. I don't really like to rest at the bottom, so I try to stop midway and then back up.
You focus more on lining the elbow up at the shoulder when you come up rather than.
Yes. So from the side,
Yeah.
I try not to get too much rocking back and forth, too much momentum. Use more strict form. I like straight elbow versus elbows bent.
I also know you like turning your hands up here when you come up with.
Yeah, I was always taught just for myself to engage more my lateral head, thumbs down at the top.
Big difference.
Yeah.
Yeah.